Hello everybody, welcome back to Speed of Fear. How fast did you get here? In today's video, I'll be discussing the history of Child's Play video games and where they should go in the future and who should be developing it. Let's go. So right now running on screen is a game called Terrodrome. This is not an officially licensed game, it is a free-to-play game, you can download it right now, and it features a number of different slashers and killers and villains from different movies, including Freddy Krueger, Mike Myers, Jason Voorhees, and of course Chucky. It's surprising that this is probably the best video game incarnation of not just Chucky, but a lot of these characters. I find it really interesting that, having been around so long, Chucky doesn't have an official game besides one small one that I'll be touching on in a little bit. He came out at the perfect time to have gotten one. His first movie was in '88, NES was going strong. The next movies were in the early 90s when Genesis and SNES were, having this battle, and there was horror games on those systems. I think we could have had a really cool side-scroller starring Chucky on the Sega Genesis. I would have loved to hear how the soundtrack turned out on the Genesis with the FM synth, and maybe it could have been something like along the line of Gex, but darker. Now, the one official game that did come out is Chucky Slash and Dash. This was a mobile-only game for Apple and iOS systems developed by an American company called SlimstownStudios. I believe they only released one other mobile game, and the studio may have closed after releasing Chucky Slash and Dash. I say that because SlimstownStudios' final tweet was the first update for the game, and their YouTube channel hasn't uploaded anything since the gameplay trailer. I believe it's still available, but I have not played it. I haven't checked if it's available because I do not own an iPhone or any Apple products that I could test it on. But looking at the footage, I don't feel like I'm missing out on too much. It's a endless runner type of game where you run through a factory, collecting batteries, dodging barrels, and occasionally attacking a random guard. You could play as Chucky or Tiffany, but it looks like they both play the same, and it seems like they have some dialogue pulled from some of the movies. Now, another Chucky game that was in the works but never came to be was Chucky Wanna Play. This was in development by a studio called TikGames. TikGames is an American video game developer. They seem to do a lot of smaller games, mobile games or games for Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. So it looked like this would have been similar along those lines. There's very little footage of it floating around. I'll have some of it up now. But now, I'm not sure exactly what type of game this would have been. You would think it's some sort of action stealth thing. But just from the kill angles, though, I think there would have been some QTEs involved, some quick time events. I don't really know, though. I'm not sure how it all would have came out. It would have been interesting to see, though. I would have liked to see it come out. And strangely, at the end of the trailer, there's a scene of Chucky dancing. I don't know. That turned me off. I think that might have turned off a lot of the potential donators to the campaign. The campaign didn't. It only made less than $600, only 19 backers, and needed to make almost $1 million. So that was canceled. But it's interesting because these are two very small game companies, and it seems like it's not impossible for smaller companies to get the license to the Chucky character or the Child's Play franchise. Now, before I talk about my ideas for a Chucky video game and who I'd like to see develop it, I wanted to touch briefly on the Friday the 13th game. This game received a lot of praise when it was being developed. It was also a crowd-funded game. I wasn't following it too closely, but I had a chance to play it recently because it was free on Games with Gold. I think that they really nailed some aspects of it. They nailed the look of Jason, the sound effects, and the music and the atmosphere is all dead on. It has a really interesting gameplay concept with the asymmetrical multiplayer, but this is something I don't think would work for a Chucky game. I think Chucky is suited for a stealth action game with some narrative elements to tie the characters together, give you a reason to go after the people you're going after. So, who is the perfect developer for a potential Child's Play or Chucky video game? In my opinion, the clear answer is IO Interactive. They are the Danish studio who develops the Hitman franchise. I'm a huge fan of the Hitman games, and a lot of times when I'm playing it, I'm just thinking, wow, this would be perfect for Dexter or Chucky or all sorts of like stealthy stalker killer types. In Hitman, you play an assassin and you get to explore an open area. You're given a target, and it's up to you to how you decide to kill them. So, in my idea, the twist for a Chucky of this game would be there's, very similar to that, but you have to have a few changes. You can't stick Chucky in and just have it work. It wouldn't make sense. So, first off, you need to make the levels a lot smaller. So, let's just imagine we have the apartment building from the first Child's Play, like just that level, and you are Chucky, and you have either a couple specific targets, or you can just go on a spree. You can kill whoever you want, but those kills have consequences. People see them and react and show up, and the same with how you're placed, where they see you. If they see you sitting still in a child's room, they'll walk right past you. If they see you sitting still out in the hallway, someone might question it, that sort of thing. In the Hitman games, all of the NPCs, they have pathways. They have things that they're doing and things that they, like, goals. Say, like, oh, this guy's going to the bathroom, then he's going to wash his hands and go back to the kitchen and do this and do that. Everyone, all the NPC characters have pathways, things that they do. So if the levels you had were smaller and you had fewer characters, those pathways and those AI interactions could be so much more detailed. And then imagine, say you had different levels, like you have the apartment building, you have Andy's school, you can have a hospital or asylum or a police station, the good guy factory, the carnival or fair from part 3. There's all sorts of places that it would make sense for him to be sneaking around. Also, in the more recent Hitmans, there's a blend mechanic, and the character you play as, Agent 47, when you're blending, NPCs or enforcers won't notice him. So if he's dressed up as a scientist and he's looking at a microscope or some lab samples, the other scientists or surgeons around him won't think anything of it. So I was thinking, if you take this mechanic and you change it so as Chucky, instead of blending at a specific object, you can blend anywhere. It's basically when Chucky plays dumb or plays as a regular doll, he's still. So you can be sneaking around behind your target in the kitchen, moving things around, grabbing a knife, hiding it somewhere more convenient, and then right when they go to turn around to go get something from the fridge, you drop to the floor and are as still as a doll, still as a dead doll, and they just, look at you, tilt their head, scratch, how'd that get there, and just go on their business. And then, so that's how I think it could be a really cool stealth game with that. Also, because Chucky has a very unique sense of humor and a very dark sense of humor, and this is something that IO Interactive also has. It's not very in the forefront in the Hitman games, but there's lots of Easter eggs here and there, and there's lots of small details that show off the developer's dark sense of humor, and that's something that you would need to have in a good Chucky game. And my other reason for picking IO Interactive is because they're great at building small, contained stories. Each level pretty much is its own story and its own narrative. And I think that's something that would work really well for a Chucky game. Each level is its own characters and narrative, and reason that he ended up there and reason he's trying to kill these people or get a certain object in the building, like he has to get the heart of Damballa from the police station or something, and he'll kill anyone along the way who tries to stop him or get in his way. If you had these small levels with like a few NPCs, like 20 or 30 max per level, each one can be fleshed out and have a full objective for themselves, have a narrative, have interactions, how they relate to other NPCs in the area. So if it's an apartment building, every apartment has its own little family. Maybe it's just one guy living alone. Maybe it's a mother and a son. Maybe it's a, full family living in a small apartment. And they're all interacting with each other in a believable way. And that's something that IO Interactive could definitely pull off, I believe. Now, I don't see this happening. This is just a wish list, a dream developer for Chucky. If it happened, it would be absolutely amazing. Maybe they are fans of Chucky, and maybe after Hitman 3 comes out, that they might want to switch it up from something, because they've been doing Hitman franchise exclusively for over a decade now. They have other games that they did, Kane and Lynch and Freedom Fighters, but I think this would be a good fit. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know if you think the gameplay style and developers of the Hitman series would work well with a Chucky or Child's Play game. Is it really as good of a fit as I think? I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, thank you for listening, and good night.